Alright, let's do this. Look at that, short sleeves. I think this is the first time this year with short sleeves. Like a million things. My phone is dying. That's why I wrote down that I'm very happy that I was able to upload the video. I was very happy I was able to do that yesterday because my phone was basically saying scratch it all and do nothing, and then it wouldn't hold the charge to save its life. I said things like how the phone is just basically just on its like last legs. We're getting there. I'm gonna fix this. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It is the last day of April. And I'm getting into like interesting areas. So one of the areas that is actually actually always fascinated me. Is the with genetics and heritage and kind of like things that make you who you are. I mean, it's not as simple as like going, oh, because you are, your ancestors come from this little town in, Russia or wherever, you are likely to be like this. It's not eugenics, it's just genetics. That fascinates me. And it does stem from the theory that I had since I was a child, since I was way back when I was a little boy. And I learned that Neanderthal skulls are as big, if not larger, than current Homo sapiens sapien. They were obviously, at the time, they were much taller than the Cro-Mags. Homo erectus, Homo habilis. And we are now getting to the point where we are as tall, if not taller, than the tallest Neanderthal found. So, like, genetically, Homo sapiens sapien has caught up with Neanderthal. As far as size, mass, growth capacity, and stuff like that. The theory was later kind of like debunked, and I think the smooth brain, the more crinkles you got, the smarter you are, as opposed to the size of your brain, because Albert Einstein's brain tended to, I believe, was a little bit smaller than the average brain. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I'd have to actually look it up. But he was definitely not a smooth brain. For those of you who've been watching these videos for a long time, know that I had this crazy theory back when I was a kid, that Neanderthals are original space travelers, and they traveled from Mars to Earth. And genetically we're incompatible with the planet. before that show, like Life Without Humans, I knew that I estimated it a little bit longer. 2,000 years. I think they have it at 900 years. All evidence of human beings will be erased from this planet. But I gave it 2,000 years, and yes, we find very little evidence of Neanderthals, and people think like, oh, we find bones and we find this and we find how they lived and we find out what they ate, everything like that. But that's at the end of, we mostly find at the end of the Neanderthal lifespan, finding really old bones. I don't know if we found the origin bones of Neanderthal man. They just guesstimated how long they've been here. They could have been here a million years. They could have hung out with the dinosaurs. The art of preserving bodies and stuff like that, mummification. That's a human thing, and I don't know if they would have picked that up from Neanderthals, because there is no evidence of Neanderthals doing mummification. But yeah, that's my theory. It's why I wanted to be an archaeologist, astronaut. Archaeologist, anthropologist, astronaut. I wanted to travel to Mars when I was a kid. Just so you know, I thought we were going to be traveling to Mars 20 years ago. I thought it was going to be common. Common is like going. I didn't know that low Earth orbit was going to be the threshold of modern day space travel. did get an accurate mapping of what genes we have, I could only gain 100% of what one of my parents had. I can't get any more. So if they don't have very much traces of it, I can only get as much as they have. It's not an even split. Everybody keeps thinking like it's a 50-50. But no, it's definitely not an even split. I could get more from another one of my other parents and stuff like that. Then I explained that I have 4 brothers. The genetics that we share it's not an even mix of what we got from each parent. So for example, using the example, I have Spanish heritage in me, from my mom's side, and mom has a lot in her. But I gained only like minor percentage of it. So even though her father was 100%, not exactly 100%, because he's got more. He's got this. He's got some Mediterranean. He's got a lot of other things in the mix. But just from my grandfather, I didn't get. It didn't go 50% for my mom, and then 25% for me. Not even like the amount of Spanish I have with me is I think it's less than what I could have for Neanderthal, which is I believe it's 12%. That's from my grandfather. From my grandmother has Cherokee in her, and I believe it was a lot. I don't know how much my grandmother had, but my mom didn't gain a lot of Cherokee from my grandmother, and I think hers was like around 10%. So the best I could have gotten was 10% Cherokee, and I got 0. Again, now that it's accurate, there's probably a percentage in there somewhere like this, but it's not enough to even register. Also, from my grandmother on my mom's side, there is, I think it's a little bit of Russian, and excuse me if I freaking butcher it, it's Ashkenazi Jewish. I think I said that right. And again, once again, I don't know how much my grandmother had, how much she inherited, but I know that my mom had a little bit, and that little bit that my mom had, I gained almost none of it. It's not even registered. My mom also has Finnish, and I did gain some Finnish. I think I'm 2%, but my mom had a lot of Finnish. I think my mom was like 8 or 9% Finnish, and I only gained like 2%. look back, my father has never done the genetic testing. My biological father, I should say, has never done the testing that I know of. He's not registered. He's a mix of a bunch of things, and like I said, I don't know how much we got into it because I can't tell you. I can only tell you that if I have more of something like Scottish, I have a lot of Scottish in me for some reason. I could only gain however little. My mom's Scottish, and the rest has to be from my father's side. Because my mom's side was, I'm throwing out numbers that I did know it, but I can't remember it right now. But let's say my mom has 10% Scottish in me, in her. The most I could have is 10% Scottish. That's the most from my mom. So if I have 30% Scottish, if I'm 30% Scottish, 20%, the max, it might be more. The maximum that I could get from my mom is 10%. That's it. If my mom had no Scottish in her, I would gain, all of it would be attributed to my father's side. That makes sense? Or at least this is what my understanding of it. So I've always been kind of, I was really excited to learn this, what my makeup is, and from where in the world I come from. But the results, as inaccurate as they are, which makes it even more frustrating, but as inaccurate as the results could be, they're relatively close to what it actually is. There's also Afrikaans in bloodline in my family, and it turns out I have none in me. According to the test, I could have more. They were the Moors. One of my brothers was very surprised that they have a lot, actually. It's still fascinating to me. It's just like I said, I would love to have had 14% Neanderthal. That would have made my day, because it would have been like, I would have thought of going to Mars as like my pilgrimage, to go back home. And it also kind of explains even though wrongly, but in my mind, it would kind of explain why I don't feel that I belong, because I'm from out of this world. That's what I would have liked, but according to the test, I have 0. And sometimes when I have conversations with people about it and stuff like that, I just use what my brother's got in him, because never a 50-50 split. And it's never, because I was told, because my great grandmother was great grandmother was, full Cherokee, and that would make, her mom 50%. That would make her daughter 50%, and then it would make my grandmother, her daughter, the next one down, 25%, and then it would make my mom 12.5%, and then it would make me 6.25%. But it doesn't work that way. Because my mom is like less than, I don't know what it is, but I know it's less than 10%. That she has in her, and I think it's like not even the high. It's like 5 or 6%. So the most I could have is 5 or 6%. But there's the alternative, which is none, which is what I ended up with. The least amount that I can have is 0. If I had kids, the most that they could get from me is 0. If that makes sense. Or if I have like 0.02%, the most they can possibly get from me is that 0.02%. And I made that up, just so you know. According to the test, I have 0. One of the things that had me like tilting my head a little bit is that I was adopted. Of course, they're asking me who my father was, and I had to put in my biological father and my adopted father. And they took a lot of things, or they saw a lot of things that my adopted father has, not my biological father has, because there's really no record. My biological father has really no record. It's even kind of really wacky because Ancestry.com, the people that they say that I'm related to, it's all from my mom's side. Like every one of them I can trace to. I don't know if there's any from my father's side. as simple as like what I was saying before, where 6.25%. I don't automatically get 6.25%. I don't automatically become 25% Spanish. Because this, but in turn, let's say for instance, I don't know the real answer, but if my father was 100% Scottish, I could have, 100%. Everything else could be wiped out, and I could have 100% Scottish in me. And I know that sounds crazy because you're thinking, oh, there's got to be some connection to and it's like, no, it doesn't have to have it. I don't make up the rules. That would be the most that I could get. Normally I would fall somewhere in there, and to put the numbers there, I think it's 76% point something Scottish, or from that area. Northern UK. And that's still kind of crazy to me. But yeah, that's it. It's not a 50-50. Nothing's a 50-50. It is however the genetics make it up. So, and if but here's the cool thing: if my father was 60% and my mom was 10%, the most I could be is 70%. So they do add up that way, but yeah, it's kind of cool the way it works out. Thank you for watching. I hope I can continue to do these videos. I'm gonna have to get a new phone. I don't know when, but soon. And it's going to be what is I hope you're doing great. I really do. And as always, cool beans in the comments below. I didn't even see what time it is. Let's listen to some bells. Bing, bing. That's a little after 2. That's fine. But you take care of yourself. Alright? And wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Oh, as always, cool beans, comments below. Doesn't have to be cool beans. A lot of people have been commenting on Cuda. They've been saying hi, Baby Yoda. Hi, Grogu. That's great. Thank you for doing those. It makes my day. Every comment is awesome. This is Cuda. And I gave her a spring dress. She's all set for the spring. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic time doing it. I really do. All right, and I will catch you on the flip side.